The Trey Hendrickson details are as such. Not an extension, but he does get a little bit of a bump. Trey Hendrickson gets a bump on this year of $14 million. That's going to push him to the $30 million range on the season. He's still set to become an unrestricted free agent after the year, but at least he does get that extra 14.
He basically got them to pay him $14 million more, which is a long departure from his productivity the past couple of years and getting him close to some of those other defensive players. I mean, remember, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, those guys are in the ballpark of $40 million per year average annual value. So if you thought that this is what is holding up the Micah Parsons, contract, it's not. Like, this is nowhere even close to where Parsons is going to be. The Parsons Jerry Jones contract's being held up purely by Jerry Jones, because that's how he does business. That's how he does things. So this is if you're looking at Trey Hendrickson, his agent, I don't know what their expectations were for a deal or a contract, but this has to be a huge disappointment. And I'm sure there's Bengals fans who will be out there and be like, see, they can't pay them all. They got it all done. Well, yeah, you're right. They got it all done, but this is kicking the road. They'll go their separate ways after this season, which is unfortunate because I think Trey Hendrickson still has a lot of good football left in him. But for the Bengals, the writing's kind of already on the wall. They drafted Shamar Stewart. They've got his replacement in-house. This is probably best for them to allow Shamar Stewart to come along as an edge rusher, given how long it took them to agree to terms. And for Trey Hendrickson, he gets a pay bump, gets to go out there and play for a year, then prove hopefully maybe to someone else that they can actually pay him, like other teams out there. But I'd asked, Lee for some sound. This was actually earlier, I think either Friday last week or Monday, but I'm not sure what Lee's doing right now. So, yeah.
My first message to you guys in the text message chain was, now Jerry will move to get Micah done. I am one of those guys that think that, whether right or wrong. I think that Jerry Jones did not want to be coupled in or boxed in by another guy at the same position getting a deal done. I think that plays a part in it. How big of a part, I don't know. I still felt like it, this is a personal thing between him and Micah's agent. How true that is, I don't know. I do think that the fundamental thought that he does it when he wants to do it, and that's when he does it, that's probably that probably is the end result of it all. But I will say this was one of the most underwhelming conclusions to a I'm waiting for my contract situation. The fact that Hendrickson is such the same age as TJ Watt, and TJ Watt gets rewarded. Now, granted, TJ Watt is a Pittsburgh Steeler, and I'll come back to that and say I do not believe that you can say Trey Hendrickson is a Cincinnati Bengal, even though the production says he's the man for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's just not a draft guy for them. And it's just, maybe they looked at it more so as we have a stopgap for now that we're not going to want to pay. And for what it's worth, the information that Q disseminated the other day kind of drives home the point. Maybe it doesn't even matter if you're a Cincinnati Bengal, because even if they're putting you in the Ring of Fame, they're not going to pay for your flight. They're not going to put you up, and they're not going to take care of you. So what the hell does it matter to be a great for the Cincinnati Bengals anyway? To all you fans out there, your franchise is cheap. There's no way around it. You could call it what you want to call it. You can make the excuses you want to make, but I find that to be very, very, very telling that at some point, what this says to me is that when your boy comes back, when Joe Burrow comes back and is inducted into the Ring of Fame, they don't even plan on paying for his trip or putting him up to receive his award. I got to ask TJ, because I know TJ got into the Ring of Fame or something. He was honored by the Cincinnati Bengals at one time. I got to ask him, was his expenses covered? And if they were, I got to understand, Why was Boomer Esiason singled out to be the one that has to cover his charges to be a feature attraction for the Bengals team? Anyway, I digress. I just think this is, super underwhelming, man.
Here's the nuance of the conversation, and this is what Bengals fans would say in defense of their organization, is that if we can get a player like Trey Hendrickson to come play for us for $11 million less next year than what TJ Watt's making, then kudos to our owner and to our front office, because we're getting a very productive, great player at value. And a lot of people took issue with me saying, comparing them to the Browns, where the Browns will throw money at pretty much everyone, or Myles Garrett, for example, who's making $10 million more. And they'll say, well, compared to that, what they're missing on guys. You're missing the point then, because the Browns at some point will be able to turn the corner if Jimmy Haslam's got deep enough pockets to keep this thing going. Eventually, they'll find a quarterback. Eventually, they'll have a roster that's built around them, and they'll retain that talent. This is an example of a Bengals organization that, great, they get to keep Trey Hendrickson for 1 year, then he moves on. Will Shamar Stewart be able to replace his productivity? We don't know. He's going to have a nice year to learn and grow and even play with Trey Hendrickson. We'll see where things go from there. But who knows what happens down the road with T. Higgins or another. And you wonder, are they truly willing to spend the money in this window of time with Joe Burrow to go win a Super Bowl? Because it does take cash. It takes money. It takes the ownership willing to spend a lot of dough on a roster with signing bonuses over just the salary and not having to get in these disputes every offseason. So it's a distraction for your team. You know who never has distractions in their contract negotiations? The Philadelphia Eagles. It just so happened they won the Super Bowl. Just so happens they have the best roster probably in the NFL. So how about that? How about that for the Bengals fans that think every time we make a reference to them being cheap, we use a team that's not cheap. In fact, just traded to have not only what I believe to be a good number 2 in Tanner McKee, who had a great preseason and training camp, but also for Sam Howell. Because Howie Roseman seems to look at his roster and say, Jalen Hurts just won us a Super Bowl, but God forbid anything happens to him. We've seen this before here in Philly, and we had a guy named Nick Foles who helped win us a Super Bowl. So let's have Tanner McKee. Let's have Sam Howell. Let's have any guy at any position we think we need to have in order to stockpile our roster to be able to go win a Super Bowl, because injuries are going to happen. It's a 17-game season now. Eventually, it'll be 18 games. There's just different styles of ownership, and I hate to admit it to you guys, but there's a right way and wrong way of doing things. And I'm not saying that look, they ended up paying him an extra $14 million. Some people were like, hey, he was under contract anyway. They shouldn't have paid him anything. Well, then you can side with a billionaire owner. I'm going to side with the player. I think Trey Hendrickson has proven his part. He should have got paid even more. But I would love to hear the sound of Boomer Esiason if Lee's alive at this point.
Yeah, we do.
For the love of God, Lee.
We do have that.
Halftime Ring of Honor induction ceremony, Sunday, October 26th. Kickoff is 1 p.m. But if you are traveling in for the weekend from out of town, we have secured a block of rooms at the Resonance Cincinnati Downtown Hotel.
Wait, hold on.
What? Renaissance.
A block of rooms. Usually when people say a block of rooms, it's like a wedding thing, and you have to go on there and say, I'm part of this party.
Yeah, but this is why they sent it. So the Renaissance Cincinnati Downtown Hotel at a preferred discounted rate.
Hold on.
So I can book my group rate for the Ring of Honor weekend. Rooms are limited, so please book directly for early and the best rate. We'll look forward to hosting you in the jungle for an unforgettable weekend. Don't hesitate to reach out to me or another guy on the staff with any questions. Thank you, and Houday.
Houday? Who they think they are, making you pay for your own hotel room? That's what I would say.
You think I'm an elitist if I say no to that?
I mean, look.
For that to even be a conversation from Boomer Esiason. Boomer Esiason, that is so damning in so many different ways, if you ask me. I don't know.
Hey,
you
man.
Say side with the player versus side with the organization. Well, I side with Super Bowls. How many Super Bowls do they have in Cincy? Oh, okay. They ain't doing something right. I'm sorry. Something is not being done correctly, because count how many rings the organization has, but count how many amazing football players they've had through the years. That's all I'll say.
I mean, listen, I think it was kind of them to offer that discounted rate. I mean, I don't know why we have to complain about it.